Brutal medieval torture and punishments, from the pillory to the stake. The Middle Ages were a dark and brutal time, especially for those who broke the law. Punishments for crimes, from petty theft to murder, were often cruel and bloody. There were no clear rules, and many methods of punishment were designed to instill fear in the population. In this video, we'll explore some of the most gruesome torture methods and devices used in medieval times to inflict pain, extract confessions, and publicly humiliate wrongdoers. 1. The pillory, public shame. One of the most notorious forms of punishment was the pillory. This wooden device had holes for the victim's neck and wrists, securing them in place in a busy public square. The criminal was exposed for all to see, subjected to mockery, spitting, and even having rotten vegetables or animal waste thrown at them. It was a form of public humiliation designed to destroy the person's reputation. In some cases, the crowd became so violent that the victim was severely injured or even killed by stones or other objects hurled their way. 2. Thumbscrews, torture for confessions. The thumbscrews were a simple yet agonizing torture device. Metal screws were placed around the victim's thumbs and slowly tightened. As the screws were turned, the thumbs were crushed, causing excruciating pain. This method was often used to extract confessions, as few could withstand the unbearable pressure. The rack, stretching to the limit. The rack was one of the most infamous torture devices of the Middle Ages. The victim was laid on a large wooden frame with their ankles tied at one end and wrists at the other. By turning a crank, the torturer slowly stretched the victim's body until joints dislocated and muscles tore. The further the torturer went, the higher the chance of dismemberment, as limbs were literally torn from the body. The breaking wheel, shattering limbs. The breaking wheel was another horrific form of punishment. The victim's limbs were tied to the spokes of a large wheel, which was then rotated as the executioner struck them with an iron hammer. Bones were shattered, and the mutilated body was left on display, often left to die from exposure or blood loss. The victim was left as a gruesome reminder of what happened to those who crossed the law. 5. Burning at the stake, the fate of witches. One of the most infamous executions was burning at the stake, particularly for those accused of witchcraft or heresy. The condemned were tied to a stake and burned alive. Many victims died from suffocation before the flames consumed them, but some executioners deliberately kept the fire low to prolong the suffering, causing the condemned to endure a slow and agonizing death. 6. The iron chair, unrelenting pain. The iron chair was another cruel device, covered with hundreds of spikes. As the victim was forced to sit, the spikes would pierce their flesh, causing intense pain and slow blood loss. The victim would be bound to the chair for hours or even days, with every movement driving the spikes deeper. Conclusion: the Middle Ages were a time of extreme brutality and merciless punishment. These torture methods may seem shocking to us today, but they were an everyday reality back then. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Support us on Patreon for early access to upcoming videos and to help us continue creating captivating content about history. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time on our History channel.